How's it going, everyone? It's about 2 o'clock in the morning. I was thinking about getting a couple hours of sleep, but I got my lawyer picking me up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I thought, might as well just pull an all-nighter, get all the stuff I need to get done, and, prepare for my rest of my week, which is very busy, right? So I thought, look, I got some time, so why not shoot a vlog? And in this vlog, I want to discuss what I think is the most powerful, form of, I guess, personal development, or the biggest breakthrough that I had as far as my finances go, and just myself in general, right? So I've done dozens of, ayahuasca ceremonies and wachuma and hundreds actually, Um, but what changed my life the most was me being hypnotized and going through hypnotherapy and going deep into my subconscious and unconscious mind to find the root causes to a lot of my problems, right? Now, a lot of us are just unaware how much influence our subconscious programming really has on our life. We hear that people only use 5% of their brains, which is complete nonsense. We actually use all of our brain. We're just only conscious of the 5%. And the 95% is the subconscious and unconscious mind. For example, we can have the conscious choice, today I'm going to turn my life around. Today I'm gonna get rich, right? I'm gonna start that business. I'm going to really go for it. All right. We all have these moments, right? You make the conscious choice, but somewhere along the process, we face all this resistance, and this resistance is coming from our subconscious programming. Now, recently, this past week, I went through a hypnotherapy session, and we dived deep into my subconscious mind, and particularly, the first 7 years of my life, right? Now, during the session, the guy also asked me, it doesn't necessarily have to be the first 7 years of your life. A lot of this programming can actually come from someone down the road in your, in your bloodline. So anyways, as we're going through this, hypnosis session, we start diving really, really deep. And he starts asking me, when's the first time when you experience financial scarcity? When's the first time that you started to feel poor? And, I started thinking about my early days, growing up in Section 8 housing, primarily with my mother. My dad wasn't kind of always around when I was younger. He was like in Vegas doing who knows what. Um, but I just remember being on Section 8 housing and having not the best clothes compared to other people and things like that, right? But then we go even deeper. He's like, are you sure? Can you go, farther into your ancestor bloodline and see if there's anything there? So we went deeper, right? This is where it gets really fascinating. I came to discover that a lot of this began with my grandmother during the Spanish Civil War, right? Because my grandmother is a Spanish Civil War baby. So she was actually born right when the war was ending. And there was nothing, the country was completely devastated after the Civil War. It's one of the worst civil wars in history. It was followed by a very long dictatorship that history books tend not to talk about because it went into the 70s, right? But yeah, no, my grandma used to tell me stories about her being very poor, and they would eat wheat, like from the grass, just wheat, chewing on wheat for, just for survival. And my great grandfather, my grandmother's father, he was actually on Franco's side, the dictator, and he worked in where the rations were, so he was able to get a little bit of food for the family and survive. And my grandmother was an only child, right? So she would tell me stories about how they would like, make her own dress. And one time the family made her own dress, a really nice dress. And she felt really upset because she felt really poor, because like she felt like people felt bad for her. So they made her this nice, beautiful dress and she destroyed it. And my grandmother, she would, always be obsessed with movie stars in America and like the way they dressed and the eloquence and all the things like that. And, my grandmother had, the family really had nothing. And then my grandmother met my grandfather, who was American, who was stationed in near Madrid in Spain. That's where they met. My grandfather ended up taking her to America, and she ended up blowing through all the money. You know what I mean? Like just spent all the money on herself. My mother never had anything because my grandmother wouldn't let them, because my grandma was like, "That's my money." So like she would spend all the money on the credit cards. They went into debt. Ultimately, got their houses foreclosed. And then my grandma came back to Spain after they lost it all, and my grandfather, shortly left after there and kind of abandoned my mother and my uncles and stuff like that. So they had to grow up on their own. But I think it was a combination of because my grandfather, he had money, he had a great job, he was a government worker, made a lot of money. But my mother had nothing, and my uncles, they had nothing, because my grandma would kind of just save it for themselves. And that programming that my grandma had from the Spanish Civil War, she passed it on to my mother and then passed it down to us, right? So it's it's kind of mind-blowing. That's why it's so important to look into our ancestral bloodline and see their money financial patterns and see how we can change that. Because if negative, poor money habits can be inherited, not just energetically, spiritually, right? Then so can positive ones. That's why it's so important. Once you get rich and you develop this abundance mindset, that you teach your your kids, you teach other people in your family, in your community, and you start breaking these cycles. So that's what I got to say for that. And also, I want to let you guys know, if you are interested in being hypnotized, I am a certified hypnotherapist. I'm also certified in NLP. And if you would like to, go through, a hypnosis session, primarily focus on the things that we're learning in like the wealth modules and things like that, feel free to reach out to me. I'm doing it absolutely free of charge to anyone who responds to this video. So this is your opportunity to get hypnotized and get really, really deep into it. Deep into it. I mean, we're going to go deep into your childhood, deep into past lives, and really start to reprogram your mind into this new abundance mindset. So if you're interested, please let me know. Send me a message, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.